Hello, I'm Dr. Alicia Power.
And I'm Dr. Maria Kang, and welcome to Growing Healthy,
a podcast about pregnancy, pediatrics, and beyond. Hi, Dr. Alicia Power here, and we are lucky enough to have Natasha and Kelsey from West Coast Sleep Consultants join us on Growing Healthy. They are going to give us a quick primer on common sleep concerns in the first few years of life. We will get to that right after this quick reminder. The Growing Healthy podcast and website is meant for general medical information only. This does not apply to every situation, and should you have questions or if you have received different advice, please contact your healthcare provider.
The views expressed by Growing Healthy and our guests are not representative of any institution with which you are affiliated.
Welcome, Natasha and Kelsey. So excited that you could come and speak with me today. Sleep is so important for both children and their parents, and yet it is such a challenging topic for so many families out there. Can we start by learning a bit about both of you and how you ended up being sleep consultants and what you feel your role is in helping families sleep? Kelsey, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us here. So my background is in childcare. So I've worked with kids in so many capacities, but things really changed when I had my own daughter and I experienced sleep deprivation at its finest. So I did lots of research on different sleep methods and I came across the Sleep Sense program. It worked fantastic for my family, and I know so many families that it has worked great for. When Dana Olbermann, the creator of Sleep Sense, contacted us to do the training and become sleep consultants here, I just felt like it was such a wonderful fit, and it has been such a great opportunity to be able to introduce sleep back into parents' lives.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey. What about you, Natasha?
Hi, so I'm Natasha Burdell, born and raised in Victoria. Most of my schooling is in education and business. Lots of background experience in childcare, infant care, customer service, all sorts of areas. And I can't say I always wanted to be a sleep consultant because, to be honest, I didn't even know what a sleep consultant was before I had a child. But I had a daughter who didn't sleep for 10 months, so I struggled with sleep, and I eventually used the Sleep Sense program, same as Kelsey, on my daughter, and it was by far the best decision I ever made as a parent. So, as Kelsey mentioned, we came across an opportunity to become Sleep Sense consultants and help families locally and all over the world get their children sleeping better, to be able to help families through this tough transition and navigate them and support them through, infant toddler sleep. It's been so rewarding. So
great. I know it's really important to have people that you can call on to support you through this tough time. And you were both lovely enough to come chat with me today. And I know there's 3 topics you were hoping to address: sleep props, sleep training, and toddler sleep. So why don't you start with whichever you choose, and we'll just keep going from there.
Okay, so sleep props. Sleep props is always one of the biggest things that we like to address with parents. Every baby is born with the opportunity to be a great sleeper.
Hey, Kelsey, I have a question for you. What's a sleep prop? I don't even know. I'm assuming I know, but just confirm for me.
So a sleep prop is basically any external source that a baby relies on to put itself to sleep. So the most common sleep props, of course, are feeding to sleep, breastfeeding or bottles, soother, rocking to sleep, sometimes car rides.
So quite a wide variety of things that can be used.
A wide variety of things that can be used. So sleep props really, in simplest terms, when a baby relies on sleep props to fall asleep, they are going to need that exact sleep prop anytime that they wake throughout the night, right? So everybody wakes throughout the night. You and I, we toss, we turn, we maybe go to the bathroom, we fluff our pillows. But for a baby, when they wake throughout the night, they are going to need to call mom to bring that sleep prop back and put them right back to sleep.
It's funny, I often say to patients who breastfeed their children to sleep, in the rocker or something, imagine if you were an adult and you fell asleep on the couch and then you woke up in the middle of the night in your bed. that'd be pretty frightening to try to figure out how that transitions. So what is your advice around kind of sleep props and how to manage them, when to use them, when not to use them?
I mean, I always say, you know, for the newborn age, sleep props are super beneficial. You know, little babies really need a little bit of help to fall asleep, and that's okay. If we're, you know, switching up the different sleep props, you know, not necessarily feeding our newborns to bed every single time, but maybe using different kinds of techniques to get them to sleep. So, you know, at a young age, sleep props can be okay, and they can work just fine. But as our babies kind of get older, we want to really start working towards putting them down into their cribs wide awake, right? So that they're really doing the work to put themselves to sleep.
And what about using, so say they're wide awake and you give them a soother to suck on while they're going to sleep. Is that considered reasonable, or are you going to have to get up in the middle? I've heard stories of people throwing 24 soothers in the bed with their child so their soother baby can grab one in the middle of the night rather than them needing mom to come and put it in their mouth for them, or dad.
Yeah, for sure. So soothers are a tricky one because there is a point where, you know, baby can put a soother back in its mouth on its own. But we like to steer away from soothers altogether just because, you know, even if your baby's old enough that they can put a soother back into their mouth, that's causing fragmented sleep, right? So our babies aren't getting quality sleep when they're waking up, and they consciously need to look around the crib for that soother. So if we teach a baby how to fall asleep without a soother, it's not going to be an issue throughout the night, right?
So you also talked about car rides, or I'm assuming stroller rides, or going in the carrier as a sleep prop. So when might you think that would be a useful thing, perhaps sporadically, to use versus not use?
I mean, you know, the younger the baby, the more naps that they're going to have. So I always like to be a little bit flexible. You know, if you have a younger baby, you know, if you can plan always to have one or two of the naps in a crib, and then, you know, throw in a car nap or throw in a stroller nap. We know how important it is for us moms to get out there and, you know, not be homebound. Really, I think sporadically is the answer. You know, we don't expect you to be at home and have your baby in a crib for every single nap, but as long as we're not doing a car ride for every single nap and every single bedtime or night waking, then it's usually, you know, it's not going to be an issue.
Great. Now, what about those toddlers and their loveys that they have to go to sleep with that you need to have 3 or 4 as backups if they lose them? How do you manage those challenging times?
Okay, so we always have, you know, we have this kind of little list of positive sleep props. So a lovey we actually consider to be a positive sleep prop, right? So that lovey is not going to put your child to sleep. It's just going to act as a comfort item so that it's there for when they wake up throughout the night and mom isn't there, right? So we consider loveys to be a positive sleep prop, any sort of blankie that they can cuddle up to. We love white noise. White noise is our favorite positive sleep prop, right?
Do you have any suggestions as to white noise machines or apps that you found beneficial or good?
I have absolutely no preference as to what you're using for white noise. It does not have to be anything fancy as long as it goes all night, right? So if you have a timer that goes off after 45 minutes, then chances are your baby's going to wake up after 45 minutes. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. We say, you know, throw a household fan in the bedroom. And again, a sleep prop, a positive sleep prop, is not putting them to sleep. So this white noise isn't actually putting them to sleep. It's just really drowning out the other noises in the house so that they can stay asleep a little bit better.
Great. Natasha, are you going to talk a little bit about sleep training and what that entails, or the reasons behind it?
I would love to. So sleep training, again, another term I never heard of until I had a child of my own. And now it is absolutely everywhere. It's in every mom group. It's on every sleep site. It honestly can be very controversial. But so the basic idea of sleep training is teaching your child how to sleep and have healthy sleep habits. So as Kelsey mentioned, every young newborn is capable of healthy sleep. A lot of the times we introduce these sleep props and we get stuck in this cycle of having to nurse to sleep, waking 5 times a night, needing the soother, and et cetera. So there are many ways to sleep train, and a lot of new moms try to do a lot of research and try sleep training on their own. There's many different methods and examples out there. A lot of people associate sleep training with the cried out method, which is what we get a lot. It's most commonly the top question that, potential clients will ask us. Do you use the cried out method? I don't like the cried out method. And essentially, cried out method is a great method, and there's nothing against it. It works well for a lot of families, but we don't choose to use the cried out method.
So I find a lot of my patients ask me about sleep, and I always think it's really important to say to them that every family is different. No one thing is going to work for everything, and sometimes it takes trying a few different things to figure out a method that works for you and your family. The other thing that I think is really important is having a team-based approach to it. So it's going to be potentially a challenging time for everybody, so making sure that everybody in the family is on the same page. Would you kind of agree with that, or do you have a different thought on that in terms of sleep training and how that works within your program?
Absolutely. Obviously, we like to have, both parents involved. We've come across a lot of cases where, one parent's not as supportive as the other parent, but definitely like to have both parents on the same page and involved in the process of sleep training. The benefit to sleep training, having everybody on the same page is, mom can do bedtime, dad can do bedtime, and the baby, routine and consistency stays the same, and that is one of the most important things. So we also get asked a lot, can you sleep train at any age? Newborns, toddlers, any age. And of course you can. You can start teaching healthy sleep habits at any age. It just looks different depending on how old they are. So for example, a newborn, you're just going to be differentiating day and night. And like Kelsey had mentioned earlier too, just the prevention of sleep props becoming a dependent to sleep. And then around the 3 to 6 months age, we're teaching independent sleep skills, but we're most likely keeping night feeds in as the babies are so little and they still need that nourishment throughout the night. And then usually around the 6-month mark, that's when a lot of babies, if they are, good sleepers and self-soothers and whatnot, they tend to start sleeping through the night or are capable of sleeping through the night with starting solids at that. And even if they were healthy, sleepers, that they will cut those night feeds out on their own. And then toddlers, we get lots of toddlers too, 3 years old, have never slept through the night. So that's a big adjustment for sure, and we have to teach them independent sleep skills. But a lot of it comes with boundaries and being firm and consistent, because you hear a lot of game playing and, going to mom's room. And so,
negotiating is big in my house.
Yes.
Just a question about logistics. I know like I said, every family is different. Some people's children sleep in their own room, in their own crib. Some people sleep in the crib in mom and dad's room. Some people sleep in the same bed, hopefully in a safe manner. Are you able to work with all families despite kind of circumstances?
Great question. We do. The only one we advise or we would not work with would be co-sleeping. And nothing against co-sleeping. We've both done it. I think every parent does it, but it's really hard to teach those independent sleep skills when they're sleeping right next to you. It's hard to, and we, it's not the safest route to go, but again, we do what we got to do, and we would tell those parents that when they're ready to transition their child, whether it be a bassinet next to the crib, a crib in their room, or their own room, that we would be more than happy to work with them.
Great. How do you see having a sleep consultant better than reading a book or going on the website or listening to your friend's advice? What is kind of your role in that process?
As we've both discussed too, we've read lots of books, online research. I feel that every parent starts that route. That's where they start. They turn to the internet, they turn to friends, they turn to mom's groups. And sure, they'll get just a wide variety of advice, and it's hard to take everybody's advice. Also, they'll read a book, and the book is very, generalized, whereas working with a sleep consultant, we work with you to customize the sleep plan, do what works best for your situation, your child, whether they be 8 weeks old or 3.5 years old. You could read the same book, and it's really hard to come up with a customized sleep plan. Or also, if you have any kind of problems throughout the process and you have questions you need to ask, that you can't just turn to that book and find those answers that you need. So we really try and push the support aspect of hiring a sleep consultant as having someone to talk to every single day for a period of time to guide you through that process and make sure that by the end of the time that we work with you, that you are happy with the way things are going and you are happy and your child is sleeping and you're sleeping.
Amazing. And I think it's also important to remind people that, I speak from personal experience, that sleep training is not a one-time thing. We need to kind of remind our kids and ourselves to kind of keep up with the skill sets. And if you're traveling or if you have a big disruption like a new baby in your house, it can kind of make things challenging again, but then at least you've got the skill set to kind of bring that back in. And I think that's really important for people to remember. Great. So Kelsey, I have a 3 and a 5-year-old who luckily have been pretty good with their sleep, but I certainly noticed that things have changed from when they were non-mobile and not really chit-chatty. So you're going to chat a little bit about toddler sleep and how we can kind of maneuver around that. And also my daughter, just at 3, dropped her nap, and it's a bit of a interesting situation in our house at times. So chatting about that would be lovely as well.
Toddlers are actually my favorite age range to work with, and that mostly is because they are all so different, and we get to really be creative in making things work for mom and the whole family.
So probably an important part of sleep training is consistency around kind of bedtimes and wake-up times. How do you kind of create that consistency, or do you believe that's important, I guess?
Oh yeah, consistency is important for any age. It doesn't matter who we're sleep training, but especially for toddlers and young children. Toddlers and young children, they need consistency. They need to be able to predict what is going to happen. So again, routines are so important for them. Every step in your routine is a cue to them that sleep is coming. Toddlers do not like to be thrown curveballs. So, really setting out the expectations for toddlers, setting boundaries, and not pushing those, not allowing them to push those boundaries. So toddlers are just natural born boundary pushers. That is part of their development. They are learning what sorts of behaviors that they can use to get what they want, right? Manipulation at its finest, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It is part of their development. But for us as parents, it's really important for us to hold firm to our boundaries and, not let them push the boundaries too far.
And in terms of what's a kind of a typical sleep, either a sleep routine or hours of sleep that you would recommend to, a 1.5 to 3.5 year old? What's kind of the typical amount of time that they should-ish be sleeping? And I say ish because child's different.
Mm-hmm. So for a toddler that is still napping, so we would always look for, anywhere from, a year to 3 years if we're still having the nap. I love about a 2-hour nap. It can range anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours, of course, as long as your baby's still sleeping okay at night. So I would say anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours of daytime sleep and anywhere from 10 to 12 hours of nighttime sleep. And then, of course, when we pull that nap, which average age to pull that nap is around 3 years old, some sooner, some later. But once we pull that nap, things are going to switch up a little bit, and we're going to be looking closer to 11 to 13 hours of nighttime sleep. So 11 on the little bit lower end, but aim for the gold.
And what do you guys usually recommend for bedtimes for kids? And I went through your Sleep Sense program handout, and it looks like early bedtimes is really important, sometime between 6 and 8.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, if a child isn't napping, it's going to be on the earlier end of things. So anywhere, 6 to 7 o'clock is fantastic. Most parents, obviously, 7 o'clock is a little bit more realistic for the working family. If a child is napping, I find as they kind of age into the 2.5, 3 years old, you're going to be looking at a little bit of a later bedtime. But I really like to max bedtime around 8 o'clock. I find that once kids are ready to drop that nap, you're going to notice that bedtime is creeping later and later and later, okay? And we don't ever want daytime sleep to affect nighttime sleep. So nighttime sleep is always so much more important and rejuvenating. That's when our body is really going into overdrive to restore itself. And so we want to make sure that kids are getting the appropriate amount of nighttime sleep. So once you notice that nighttime sleep is being jeopardized because of that nap, then that's when we're really going to have to look into dropping it.
And I think it's also really important for parents to have some partner time at the end of the day, too.
Oh,
and
totally.
A reasonable bedtime allows for an hour or two of, in my house where I go to bed at 9, an hour or two of kind of time just to kind of spend with each other and get to know each other again, because parenting can be very challenging and you need that time to reconnect.
Yeah, I always say to parents that you guys are the most important relationship in the house. If mom and dad are falling apart, then the whole family will fall apart, right? So yeah, I really, really like to push that on our clients that, take care of yourselves and take care of your relationship. That time is so important for everybody.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. How can people get a hold of you if they are interested in learning a little bit more about the Sleep Sense program that you offer?
Yeah, check out our website. So we're www.westcoastSleepConsulting.com. We also have a Facebook page, West Coast Sleep. And any of those methods, shoot us an email, shoot us a chat on Facebook. We are happy to answer questions. Of course, we do the free 15-minute consultation call where we can have a chat about sleep training, about your little ones, and just really see if it's a good match to work together and if it makes sense to be hiring a consultant.
Great. And of course, we'll put all that information in our show notes. So thanks again to Natasha and Kelsey from West Coast Sleep Consultants for joining us today. Keep on growing healthy.